Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Justice and Pieces guest speaker series. Today, we are joined by a panel of six wonderful women who are thriving in the legal field. Uh, you may have heard her there already. First of all, thank you to all six of you for joining me, and perhaps we'll go alphabetically here. We'll start with Anita. Anita, thanks again. I think this is like you're probably like the most decorated guest I've had of my like 600 episodes here. Tell me a little bit about and tell our viewers here a little bit more about yourself.
Thanks, JP, for inviting us and reaching out to women to come in and be with you uh, in celebration of International Women's Day. I am a frequent flyer on your various programs, and I think the service that you're providing is such an important public service that I love coming on your various shows and events. So thank you for doing all that. I heard you say here are six women who are thriving, and my five colleagues may well be thriving or feel like they're thriving, and I think that's great. I just want to say that today I drove 3 hours to Hamilton and back in order to not start a hearing because interpretation was supposed to be simultaneous for victims who were observing on Zoom, but they put the interpreter not with the victims and they had no way of communicating with each other and it couldn't happen. And it was the biggest waste of time, energy, money with a full five-panel tribunal, about 12 lawyers and parties. And my client was stressed out of his mind about this hearing because his life is on the line. And it just felt like a colossal disaster. So that was my day. I didn't feel thrivey. It felt like the administration of justice was caving in on itself and had my client and I in its crosshairs. So I think there are days like this. I am a criminal defense lawyer, but really a mental health law litigation specialist. I have a little firm in Toronto. Mostly, we work on legal aid tickets. I have two associate lawyers, two articling students, and support staff. And I'm in my 34th year of practicing law in Ontario. I'm proud to say, always on behalf of vulnerable people, always doing what I think is interesting stuff in the mental health realm. And in my spare time, I like to surround myself with women and support my women colleagues. And I think but for you, JP, you're the exception to the rule. I think I went like 4 or 5 years without speaking to a male colleague unless it was absolutely necessary in a court of law. It was a very restful time for me. So that's me. I'm back to speaking to men now, so it's all right. But there was a break that was necessary for what is it we're calling it now? Um, Preserving my peace. Happy International Women's Day to all, and that's me.
Thank you so much, Anita. Next, we have Charlene.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having us all here today. My name's Charlene Cruz. I'm actually a public servant, so I work for the government. I work as a psychiatric patient advocate, probably where Anita was today, most likely. And I became a licensed paralegal in 2022, although I've been working in mental health in that justice sector for about 30 years. I've just kind of taken a bit of a shift and I do adjudication for a professional regulator as well. So my practice has been around criminal and tribunal, but I'm currently in the family legal services provider program because that's where I have decided that I want to do my focus.
Perfect. Thank you, Charlene. Yolanta.
Oh, hi. Good evening. Thank you for having me today. A little bit about me. My name is Jolanta Kshasht. I'm a licensed paralegal for now, I would say, over 2 years, and I'm a founder of JC Paralegal Services. Um, the practice areas are I practice in the area of small claims court and landlord tenant board. Mostly, I would say 50-50. And prior to that, I did work for the law firms. I built excellent relationships with lawyers prior to becoming a paralegal, I guess. And given that, I do plan maybe in the future to also take this path and become a lawyer myself.
I'm
Perfect.
just glad to see your last name because people have trouble with mine. And next time they do, I'm going to tell them about you.
Thank you, Jolanta. Mariana?
Good afternoon. First of all, I just want to say it is an honor to be here. Thank you, JP, for the invitation. I am one of your previous students, so it's a full circle moment. My name is Mariana Garzon. I am the founder of MGB Legal Services. I provide services in small claims, summary conviction, and I do notary services. I also help a lawyer with his criminal cases, so I'm part of Wicked, and I'm very involved with the criminal law community.
Perfect. I was actually, I think there's three former students. I guess Jolanta was kind of a former student. And I have Saran here. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Yes, definitely. You're one of my professors in school. Hi, everyone. Good evening. My name is Saran Navratil. I actually started out as a law clerk and worked with a couple law firms, and it was the lawyers that actually said and pushed me to go into the paralegal program, which I did. I was only a law clerk for a year, and they pushed me. So I graduated in end of 2021 and started my own business in about roughly mid 2022. And I practiced as same as Jolanta because we knew each other in law clerk school, in our landlord and tenant board and small claims. And yeah, it's been such an inspiration to be around. And I named my company Paralegal Services because I had an idea that, with new paralegals coming out, I was hoping I could maybe, have an umbrella under them, help them out and so on, try to help other women out as well. And I think this is a great effort of putting a speech together today and for International Women's Day. If there's any more questions further on, we can answer that. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And finally, we have Stephanie joining us. Thank you, Stephanie.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Carvajado, and I'm a licensed paralegal since 2023. And I actually came from a very different background, more of a stereotypical female role, I guess you would say. I was a daycare teacher and I worked with children with autism. So it's quite a change for me, but I've been I've been a property manager before that also, so that really helps with the transition because my focus is landlord tenant. I also do traffic tickets and notary services, and I've been running my own firm for almost 2 years now.
Perfect. And Stephanie was the recipient of our phenomenal paralegal, future paralegal. I can't remember the exact name. I'm sure you do. I know it was up on your wall. I saw, but
Yeah.
Rising Star winner from last year. So congratulations again, Stephanie. So let's get started. This year, the theme for International Women's Day is "Give to Gain," and International Women's Day has been around for many years, and so we'll kind of go around the horn because it may mean different things to all of you as legal professionals. But what does it mean to you, Anita, and celebrating, and as well as whole month, and just like I said last month, it doesn't mean that, we only have 1 month a year, then we move on to something else in April either. But what is International Women's Day and the month of March? You're celebrating various women in all over the world and in all different professions mean to you?
I've been reflecting on this a little bit, in part because I try to make that 1 to 2 minute video for you. So you'll see a little video from me there, but I couldn't make it less than 3 minutes. I had my alarm go off at 2 minutes and then I just decided to blow right through that, keep going. But I think, at my stage of my career, sort of with my advanced age and all, looking back at many IWDs from when I was a student myself and an undergrad student, looking back, I think what it means in many ways changes, but also stays the same. So celebrating women in all the roles that we fulfill, whether it's caregiver roles, educator roles, professional roles, advocates. Through my generation and the course of my career as a lawyer, we've grown from very small percentage of practicing lawyers to what I'm really seeing now, which is domination by women. The preponderance of new lawyers, law students, my impression is that we are women. I don't know how the gender demographics break down in the paralegal world, and I'll look forward to hearing about that. But in the law schools, we are seeing more young women coming into the profession. It's more young women. And certainly in my circle, maybe that's wicked, but certainly where I go, I'm feeling the dominant and expressed confident presence of women. I'm hearing women speaking with their authentic voices. I'm seeing young women unafraid to take up space, and I'm seeing a real sea change. So what I'm seeing is that the face of the profession is changing. We are seeing more women. We are seeing more young racialized women. We're seeing more Black and Indigenous women and South Asian women. We're seeing disabled women. We're seeing members of the 2S LGBTQ plus community. We are seeing a really diverse representation in the bar, representative of the communities that we serve. And I think all of that is to be celebrated. That's not to say all gender bias and discrimination and implicit biases have been resolved and there's nothing for us to worry about or be concerned about on this IWD. We know what Sue Dean Riley has reported, so we've just been through all that. We've had a very stark reminder that battles are not all won. Nothing, not everything is behind us. It's not clear days ahead. We're still fighting, but I'm just seeing a critical mass of representation and presence that I think is truly to be celebrated. So this International Women's Day, I feel both heavier in light of recent contexts and concerned, but also lighter in a way in knowing that we have these strong communities. And actually spending the day with you and your colleagues for the legacy and the voices of Black leaders and professionals for Black History Month with the Paralegal Town Hall, I found very inspirational because you also felt this undeniable strength and presence of the Black community in the legal professions and the leadership and on the judiciary. And this, when I went to law school in 1987, we had exactly one Black student in our class, maybe one Asian student. We didn't have a single Indigenous student. If you look at my class photo, the graduating class of 1990, it is a sea of white, and that's not that long ago. So things have come a long way, and I feel on balance, strong and confident about the future of the profession and the presence of women as leaders in the profession.
Thank you, Anita. Charlene?
Thanks. I think International Women's Day, it's a call to action. I think historically women have had to fight for our rights. And as Anita said, there's also this intersectionality of all different demographics of women. Some visible, some non-visible. So I think while we, still fight, we also celebrate, and that's what International Women's Day is about celebrating those gains. The challenges are still there, pay equity, intimate partner violence, exploitation. There's a lot of pieces that are still at play. But what I'm seeing is women telling their stories. That strength and resilience is building. And women are standing together to remove those barriers. I look at folks like Anita. I follow a lot of your stuff. I've watched your presentations in courts. And, I draw from that. So I think being part of this community, it makes me proud for those who came before me and hopeful for those who are going to come after. Because, women together are really standing up and claiming space in the legal field and in the world. And I'm glad that we have a day that we can celebrate that.
Jolanta?
I guess for me, International Women's Day is a reminder that women in law are not like, we are not only participants anymore. We are actually creating the system. We are leaders, entrepreneurs, and advocates to shape the legal justice. And it reminds me about our resilience and strengths and willingness to stand firm and in our expertise. That before, as said, we had to fight for our place, for who we are. Now, I would say we are there. We participate. We not only participate, we build. And I think many women, especially me, I would say, in a paralegal profession, I feel like we still have to prove ourselves to the environment. Yet however, it changes, or it's not as difficult as it used to be, right? And it creates challenges for me, and but also it builds strength, and it pushes me to build better business, be a better advocate for my clients, and especially support each other, support other women in this journey.
Thank you, Jolanta. Mariana?
So I'll be honest, up until this year, I haven't really celebrated International Women's Day. I have always been in a male-dominated industry. It wasn't until I became a licensed paralegal where I've seen a lot of sisterhood and a lot of women coming together. So this year, it's more for me to reflect on the impact we make together, not just as a woman yourself, but collectively together as women. As you've seen, I collaborate a lot with women, with Stephanie. We do a lot of things together. We support each other with other female entrepreneurs and other female paralegals. And being a woman in law, particularly criminal law, is a huge privilege, but it's very difficult. So that's something that I've been reflecting on as well. Because growing up, I would see men in the criminal industry. But now that I'm a licensed paralegal, I'm seeing more and more women as a criminal defense attorney, as criminal defense paralegals. But I still see a little bit of a stereotype. I will always get questioned because I do deal with a lot of sexual assault charges. I always seen as the traitor of women just because I'm representing male men who are being charged for sexual assault or other heinous crimes. So it's still a little bit difficult to be a woman in the criminal field.
Thank you, Mariana. Saran?
Yeah, International Women's Day, I don't actually celebrate also all the time, but I do find that when women come together, they do know how to help each other. I think Charlene might have mentioned the intimate partner violence. I've been in that and going through similar things like that back in 2012, when I worked with victim services. Oh my God, they were such a great help, and it's unbelievable. And I didn't believe in that. I had to find myself again. And when I went with this group of women, and they actually, talked about their problems and communicated well, it helped each other of us. Each of us had some kind of story that we could take with us, and to give us a little bit of confidence, power to grow ourselves back up. Moving forward, going into law and becoming a paralegal, I found that I could be a little bit stronger, be a little bit more confident, and put my foot down when I feel something is not right. And of course, going through that kind of relationship where someone has done wrong towards you, you now can see it. In the past, you couldn't see it. And talking with other women, whether it's in the same area of law, or a paralegal or a lawyer, it does motivate you to want to be better and be a better advocate for your clients. So I've always been kind of like drawn towards just always talking to women, like Anita there has said. Not that I want to exclude any men, but at this point, it's
That's
more,
okay too.
yeah,
There's no,
yeah. I mean,
there's no obligation to talk to all genders at all times, except
no,
JP.
except JP, yes. And I find it's still tough, when we do have an opposing counsel that is a male figure and they're used to writing to you in a certain way, and it kind of feels that they're demeaning you. As long as you keep yourself correct and grounded and responds back at a professional way, you just have to make yourself happy. And I think that's really good when we talk to others and encourage other women to do the same thing. So it's brought a lot for me, and I keep learning with this.
Thank you, Saran. Stephanie?
Thank you. I don't know how long International Women's Day has been celebrated here, but I do remember being in Colombia. I was teaching English at university, and I feel like that's where I was really introduced to the concept. And I just loved how they really took it seriously there, and all the men really catered because I was teaching in a university. They were all adults, right? So all the men really catered the whole day and planned it even in advance. And I thought it was nice. So it's nice to see how more visible International Women's Day is being celebrated now. And I like how there's different themes every year. And in general, I just think it's great to have a sense of community, even being in this field. I try to go to more networking events that are more women focused. It ends up just being a safer space sometimes. Again, no, it's just nice to have a break from men sometimes. But I think Anita gets it.
I'm good at it. Turns out.
Um, but yeah, I think it's just rewarding to see other women, and it ends up being motivational for us, and it's more approachable for us to, or at least I've found that I'm less intimidated to ask another female colleague than sometimes a male. And I definitely find that when I have opposing parties, the interactions I have with other female colleagues are a lot different. Usually we kind of treat each other like we're on the same level. And it's not all men, of course, but it's just the more condescending and undermining comments just happen to be more from the males. But yeah, I think it's just exciting to see International Women's Day being celebrated more. And I think women should continue supporting each other. And I look forward to more events like this.
So can I just say I love hearing this bit about Colombia because one of my cherished colleagues and I, younger lawyer, one of my mentees, we were chatting about IWD, International Women's Day, and she said, "Oh yeah, yeah." One of her former bosses, who's an older fellow, when it was mentioned that it was International Women's Day, she said, he's a good guy. He panicked. And his first reaction was, "Oh my God, is that one I have to buy a present for?" Like maybe he'd forgotten to go out and get gifts. And I said, "Well, it wouldn't be the worst thing." So, we don't, as so far as I know, unless I've just been missed in the gift giving department, so far as I know, it's not a Canadian tradition uh, to give gifts to your women colleagues on IWD. But I'd be very happy to start that trend in Canada. It'd be very nice to get presents, but the celebratory nature of it and the sort of pampering and catering. I think for an organization like Wicked, for us, let's face it, every day is International Women's Day. So we didn't even organize our own event. We're here and we went to the Law Society's event. It didn't occur to us to organize our own event. I think in part because for us the underlying themes are ever present, both fighting for inclusion and celebrating accomplishments and milestones. That's our everyday sort of diet and fare. So every day is International Women's Day at Wicked, but it's not International Women's Day in the broader profession and the public. all day, every day. And I think maybe IWD is a little bit about making it more of that so that every day uh, people are mindful of all the things that we're thinking about in celebration and commemoration of women.
Now, Anita, I just wanted to follow up on that, with maybe you could tell a little bit more about Wicked and sort of where the roots were, because and I know others here are also in criminal law, and you have the benefit of how many years of experience. Now, what have you, if you compare, that 1990 graduating class photo, and your time throughout the profession, do you see, in 2026? What has changed, and how much more of a challenge it is for women, in particular in Canadian criminal defense, which led to you even to start that organization. I know you just celebrated, I think, your 800th member. I think they got a book from Emond. So what does all that mean to you in light of this?
Sure. And nothing makes me happier than talking about Wicked. I just want to say that my like 4 or 5 year hiatus from men, it really was triggered by like a sort of public trauma and, problematic professional interactions with men. And I think at some point I was just like, I can't risk it because they're not all going to be like that. But I was very worried that I'd have one of these interactions where one of my colleagues really tries to cut me down to size and diminish my worth in this profession. And I was actually just scared of my own reaction. I was getting to the point where I think my own anger at the fact that anyone could still speak to me that way in almost 30 years at the bar and the career that I feel that I've built, and as a woman in the space, I felt like I couldn't risk the interaction, and it was just safer to try and minimize that risk and guard against that. And I didn't think I'd get that kind of stuff from my women colleagues, and I was right. So it was about building safe spaces, and that's how Wicked came about. But well, I'll go back to the class of 1990. I'll just tell you, JP, um, the University of Toronto Faculty of Law class of 1990 was pronounced the dumbest class ever by its then current dean. Our current dean at that time, Rob Pritchard, who went out on to be the U of T's president overall, said that we were the biggest academic disappointments they'd ever seen at the law school there. And we overheard him say, so we got T-shirts made. We paid for it through the student club. Had his face on it with the thought bubble saying, academic disappointments, dumbest class ever, 1990. It produced me. I'm the runt of this litter because it also produced, graduating in that class was Associate Chief Justice of Ontario, Mikhail Fairburn, Daryl Cruz, who's been the president of the Advocate Society, John Burroughs, who's won more academic medals in Indigenous law and Indigenous peoples in the law than anyone else. So it produced some of the absolutely brightest minds in the profession. But by and large, we were mainly white. Um, Things are very different now. The diversity represented in the profession, I've said, we've done a 180. And going forward, it's a new world order, representative of the communities we serve, and that's fantastic. That said, Wicked was formed in part from a particular traumatic interaction, but also because I was concerned that the young women, preponderance of new lawyers, women coming in, still faced, some of those concerning gender biases. Whether it was, it was the messaging they heard, they had to smile more, they had to be more deferential, they couldn't write pointed emails. So if a man sends an email that begins with Mariana, blah, 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 that's fine. That's a clear communication style. That's just a man being direct and straight to the point in their communications. If a woman starts an email with JP colon blah blah blah, that woman is aggressive. If you work in an environment where you've got someone above you, you're gonna hear something about it's important to include a salutation. Please say hello. Please say dear, hi, the occasional emoji, soften your tone. Heaven forbid you should come across as harsh, uh, aggressive, unpleasant, difficult, or worse, right? So I was worried about that kind of stuff. I know that there's talent, raw talent in our young women. And really felt that they were being silenced and constrained by a lot of communications about how a lawyer behaves and also how they advocate. So one of the things I'm passionate about is advocacy styles. I'm an appellate litigator. I coach moot teams. I teach advocacy. And I was sick to death of men providing that kind of coaching and mentorship, telling women not to use their hands, to tie their hair up, to look a certain way, to lower their voice, to, alter their intonation. In essence, to be more male. And it's starting to really get on my nerves. So I wanted to create a safe space where people are not harassed, they're not diminished, they're not worried about celebrating their own accomplishments and telling people the things that they've done, where other people celebrate them without envy or fear, where there's not a toxicity in the information that we share, a safe space for our list serve where you can ask whatever you want. And rest assured, no one's going to write back and say, don't be this stupid. So I wanted that safe space, and I wanted to see what women come up with when they're alone together and not being observed and judged, and let people's authenticity come through, and support people in that journey and elevate others. And I have to say that Wicked has not only met those expectations, but has tremendously surpassed them in that it was started with 8 or fewer of my friends and me, and to hit the 800 member mark across Canada at 4 years is pretty great. We're aiming to get everybody, everyone who identifies as female or gender diverse, who's a legal professional, lawyer, law student, paralegal, or paralegal student across Canada. I have to also say that since we've opened our membership up to paralegals and paralegal students, we have been demonstrably enriched for it, with the inclusion of the advocacy that our paralegal colleagues have brought to our organization and to the profession. And I'm grateful to you, JP, for really opening my eyes to the paralegal community through your podcast. So that's everything, I think. And if I had any advice it's on my little 3.5 minute video, I'm ashamed to say, but if I had any advice for my younger colleagues, I would just say, really, 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 really try to not care what anybody thinks or says. You have got as far as you got in your life, knowing yourself. Once you enter this profession, it's not like you're a newborn or a toddler and you haven't lived or learned anything. Certainly, there are things for you to learn, and you can always improve. Even at my stage in my career, I'm learning all the time. That's not to say you know everything substantively about the law or the work, or the ethics. Certainly be mentored, get help, but don't let people tell you that you need to look different, behave different, talk different, be somebody else in order to present as a professional and to belong. You just do whatever you want. That's the one thing I've never cared about, and God help the person who comes and tells me to brush my hair or dye my hair or wear a pearl earring. God help them. I've had men tell me, the way you dress confuses me, and I've said, yeah, lucky it's got nothing to do with you. It's not for you. You don't have to understand it. And feel free to just be who you are, because that's going to allow you to do your best work. Authenticity in the courtroom and in professional interactions is the most effective way. At least you know who you are. You're consistently messaging the same way. You're being truthful. You'll never have to go back and wonder what you did or how you reacted in a scenario, because you did what was right for you. That's consistent with your own moral compass, and you should have faith and confidence in that.
Thank you so much, Anita. So Charlene, and I think Anita was asking about the demographics. I think I just did a quick check, and it's vastly different from lawyers, I believe, even with the advancement. I think it's almost 7 out of 10 paralegals are women or who identify as women. And that number, I mean, I know some of you were in my classroom, and I remember, we would have, well, Mariana, we were online, but no, if I looked around the room, I mean, it sort of indicates along those lines as well. So, Charlie, maybe keeping that in mind, how have you found, in the 3 years or so, 4 years since you've become licensed as a paralegal compared to all the other stuff you were doing prior to it, the role of women and mentors you may have or colleagues you may have in the profession there?
It's a great question. I think that prior to learning about Wicked, which ironically I learned about from a male lawyer who I was working with, Alan Horton. He passed away a year ago yesterday. Miss him. And I had great male mentors as well. And Al introduced me into this sort of network of women that I've kind of sat and sort of watched and learned from, silently sometimes. But I think I've seen a lot more of that male dominance. And as much as this organization has or network has created, I'm not sure where it is outside of this. So I would really love to see this energy, this collaboration across the board, because when you come into that environment, it's actually quite impactful. It's like, wow, to see women really stand up and claim their space in the world, not just in the legal field. And as a student, I see it's actually quite a mix. So when I'm thinking about I'm in the Family Legal Service program now, there's a mix of students. And I'm one who really am an organizer. That's kind of what I've always done throughout my life. I belong to the College of Social Workers and Social Service Workers as well. So I bring both sides to it. I tend to align with my female colleagues a lot more and really sort of partner and do that mentorship to support one another through that. So I'm hoping, it's not just like we have the Anitas of the world, which you're kind of like our hierarchy here, which is wonderful. I mean, but you're modeling for other female legal providers moving forward. And so I'm hoping to kind of be a part of that movement, right? We're all a part of that change. So.
Oh, good. The Anita movement. You heard it here first.
She's gonna trademark that there.
It was coined here first. Thanks for that.
Jolanta, again, do you find then, in running your own practice, that you run into more like, and again, the other thing that, I think inherently, because, we have 7 out of 10 women who are 7 out of 10 paralegals who are women, that sometimes you have, as my co-founder, Mr. Rochester says, people call you quote unquote just a paralegal. So I mean, it cuts under various tones that, they're undermining sort of the ability that you can provide legal services because you don't have the word lawyer after your name, right? So, I mean, anything you can share from your experience in running your own practice there of some of those challenges that you would be facing?
Yes. So if I go back to the time when I was working for lawyers, I would say I did experience the environments where I had to prove myself, where I felt like I'm not appreciated or I'm not visible at times for who I am, what I know, and my expertise. However, this actually over time turned out to be a good lesson that it built me and built my confidence, built who I am right now. So I would say it was sad, but at the same time was challenging. I did not experience any worse than that, as Anita shared here, or anyone else. Thank God. It was more like you are not a lawyer. Don't stop challenging yourself. You are just legal assistant or a paralegal. Right now, what I face the most is, unfortunately, other women are being extremely rude or unprofessional towards me. That's what I experience these days. I have more support dealing with men and discussing certain legal subjects and appreciating me for my expertise than women, and that's what kind of bothers me, why we are so mean to each other. We should support one another, especially on days like those. And I did have recent experiences with very unprofessional women. I do have experiences with amazing women like Saron. We spent a lot of time discussing certain cases, and we respect each other's opinion and whatnot. However, I still sometimes have to prove myself to other women, which is extremely disappointing and surprising, right? I would like to prove myself again to some lawyers and other male paralegals than the kind of me, someone like me who to whom is hard to be there, to whom is challenging to run the practice, take care of the kids, and deal with everything else, and still be successful, right?
Thank you for that, Jolanta. And Marianne, I wanted to follow up, and Anita may remember this because we had a whole panel with Wicked around September of last year about the point you brought up relating to the hockey player trials in London, and there was an article in the Toronto Star, I believe, kind of to what you shared. You're kind of just there as an accessory. I think I can't remember the exact words. Anita might have it. Um, that Wicked sort of spoke out against that, right? Is like, you're not a traitor, right? If you represent men, charged with sexual assault, it's because you're more than capable of running their defense. So anything you want to add to that, Mariana, that you faced?
I
That
think
you
she
want to?
said they hide behind our skirts. It was Heather Malick's article. Our
I think
skirts.
we're just skirts. Well, what I could say is it's not only just about the client, because I do say all of my criminal clients are male, unfortunately, which means that the victim is a woman. So me being a woman, I can think like a woman, because I will say, yes, there are guilty men, but I've also seen some clients where this person is innocent, and you could see that the victim is either lying or manipulative. But because I'm a woman, I kind of know. But my male colleagues, they won't know, or they're not like us. But also, as a woman, we have different ways of viewing the world. So we can empathize more with the men as well, because the male colleagues, they're more strict to the facts. They're not, I wouldn't say heartless, but they're not emotional like we are. So we have that nurturing side. So whenever I see my client, I want to hold his hand. I want to say, I'm so sorry you're going through this. But my colleague, who's a man, he's more strict. He's more stoic, which is good. But as a woman, that's just how I am. And I feel like that's another thing that I notice is that my male colleagues will tell me, be more assertive. Don't show so much emotion. Don't be so caring. Have a stronger voice. And I'm just being a woman, and this is just naturally who I am, how I am. And I get my work done, and I would like to say, pleasant to work with. Because my opposing counsels, I'll never have a problem with them by the way that I speak. So when I see that I'm being told, be more assertive, be more aggressive, well, I could try, but first of all, I'm a baby paralegal. I'm still learning my way. I'm still trying to figure out who's Mariana as a paralegal. So I'm still not at that level where, okay, I'm going to be assertive. And it's been working for me thus far. So I don't feel like I should change. Just how Anita was saying earlier, be authentically you. So I'm just being authentic, and I empathize a lot with my clients. And that's just how I am.
Thank you, Mariana. Saron, I wonder maybe if you can build back to Jolanta's comment. Obviously, that that you raised. Well, sometimes you have other women who are tearing down others. I mean, I don't know if how widespread that is, but sometimes, again, when various equity-seeking groups often are we're fighting amongst the crumbs, right? Well, this is like Sudine Riley that I actually was in her class the other day. Is it a black issue? Is it a women's issue? Is it a Muslim issue? Is it this issue, right? And then by differentiating, when there's intersectionality, they're often it makes it worse for everybody, right? And so if it's if someone is struggling, if a woman is struggling with something and they're like, well, I have to suffer through this, so I'm going to make you suffer through it. Are you finding, or I mean, to what Jolanta said, or do you mean does that mean that women have to be stronger to combat any of those rare situations where others are tearing you down?
Well, it's hard to say because sometimes I find when I do come across the opposing paralegal is a woman and they come across strong, I get the sense that they're doing it because they followed some other mentor who was a man or a male figure, and they're following the same structure, or maybe they had a family member, they're working together. And I find that's usually the time when I find the women are acting a certain way, when they do have a male mentor or a father that was a lawyer or something like that. Then when they present themselves, when they talk, when they email, it sounds more towards the male side of talking. You can tell when a female writes something and when a male writes something. So I find that's the case.
Although
And
now it's just AI writing everything. So whatever,
Yeah,
you've got
ChatGPT writes everything. Right?
gender-free AI crap.
yes, but even that you'll see it's still a little bit different, even with the chat GPT and so on. It's a little bit slightly different. I mean, I've been lucky as far as, growing up. Maybe I was a little bit naive when I was growing up. I had a big family on my mom's side, a lot of male figures. Everyone was really great. I came out teenager, came to Canada when I was 19. I always thought women are equal to men and we didn't need to follow in their footsteps or anything. We had women were women and men were men. But over the years, obviously, you see some differences, partners and here now in the law area, you start seeing, yes, there's a little bit of identity crisis for women to stand up. But I still try to treat it, a certain way with dignity. And when you get an opposing party acting out and either not connecting back with you, you get frustrated. And I feel that we definitely need to have someone to reach out to. And that's why, with Jolanta, we do reach out to each other a lot. When I get frustrating days when I deal with someone else, I would often call her and say, I had a really rough day. This is what the person said. And she would pretty much, we would say to each other, think about yourself, do what you need to do that you feel good, right? And treat it that way. Don't think about what that person has done. Just do what you need to do. And so, I mean, I think that's why we support each other quite well.
And Stephanie, you had mentioned obviously networking and the importance and going to networking spaces that are more inclusive for women. And I mean, again, being a sole practitioner running your own business, anything you can share from that experience in those spaces that helps you kind of do what you're doing successfully.
Is she frozen? Or there you go. Okay.
It's the first half of that question.
So I said in terms of you were mentioning networking events that are catered towards more women, more inclusive, as well as I mean just being a sole practitioner on its own, right, is naturally more isolating, right, compared to being in. I mean, you've had all sorts of other experiences, but where there's lots of community. What do you found in terms of those spaces that really help you succeed as a sole practitioner and having a community behind you?
I think the biggest thing that I've even learned is at the beginning, I think I was trying to kind of be like my male opposing parties. And I've learned that it's like, no, we have skills and we need to use it, right? Like, I can be assertive, but my assertive looks a lot different than how a typical man might. And a lot of times, being a young female, I am underestimated, but I don't fight back. If anything, there's a lot of times where I was like, you can do that if you believe so, and then they end up being wrong. And that way I still have like a good relationship with them. But with the networking, what I find really interesting too is how these events have even a different approach to networking. It's not okay, shake hands with a bunch of people over drinks. They have like a theme to it, or it's we have guided topics, and it's all more about like there's aspects to empower us first, and then that like there's just so much more thought I find in these events. It's not just let's sticking a group of people together and it's like okay, talk to each other, mingle, see what you guys have in common. There's so much more intention behind it, and I just feel like even if I don't end up getting a client, I feel like I come out with so much knowledge, with so much more support, and just more confidence in general. So it's just nice that we're as women we bring such a different perspective into things, and I think we should use that with clients, as Mariana was saying, to be more empathetic. That works. I think partly clients are expecting us to be more empathetic, and obviously everyone has their own different characteristics, and we can play to our own personal skills, right? Me coming from the more like nurturing background of being in childcare, like I use that. I'm more of a listener, and um, so overall, I just think it's about seeing what works for you, and you'll get there the more you do it, right? The more you do things, the more you'll learn your skill. Like as Mariana was saying, I sometimes still feel like a baby paralegal too. It's only been 2 years of my own practice. I'm learning every day, and it's just nice to have a community and to know that we all have our different ways of doing things, and it's nice to feel supported.
You know, Stephanie, my daughter graduated early childhood studies a couple years ago, and she's finishing teachers college uh, this summer. So she'll be a primary school teacher. And I feel like the skills that she's developed in order to teach the little kids are actually extremely translatable into the work of criminal defense. Parenting skills, dealing with toddlers, temperamental, stubborn people is very helpful in the criminal defense work. I also envy you, your youth, and the fact that you will be underestimated by your colleagues. I remember the years when I was routinely underestimated for being young, for being a woman, God knows for having red hair, whatever else they thought was wrong with me. And there is no greater hidden strength
Yeah.
than being underestimated, because then when you come up from behind and they had no idea you could do the things you could do, you do lose that. At my stage of the game, I have to confess I'm, if anything, overestimated sometimes, which is also good. But it's a different kind of good. But you can use all that to advantage. And at the end of the day, whatever else happens, you remember what Mariana has had to say about men tonight. Men, they're not like us. At some point, she told us they're not like us. They don't get it. So that's the takeaway, JP, for International Women's Day from this group. Men, colon, they're not like us. You've all had such wise things to say. There's nothing wrong with empathy. If you're naturally an empathic person and that comes across in your client relations and when you're dealing on matters, that's going to benefit your client and that relationship. If you're empathic, actually, to your opposing counsel when they're freaking out and having a fit, and you're an empathic person, and instead of telling them off, you say, listen, are you okay? Is there something I can do to help? This has happened where people have lost their mind with me over nothing. And I said, let's just take a minute out of the litigation. Is everything all right? Only to hear that they've had to put their aging mom in a nursing home that day or a hospice, or there's, terrible sudden, emergency in the family, or they're dealing with, pressures out of their control, and it has nothing to do with you. And then they get that off their chest. You give them a break, you adjourn the matter a little bit, and you have a colleague who respects you for the rest of your entire career. So empathy can be really great. You also can function very well if you're not a naturally nurturing person. I heard Marie Henning gave a great talk once about how she's not a nurturer, but Janet Leeper, who's now Superior Court judge, once gave a lecture that Marie was next to speak, and Janet read a poem about being loving and nurturing. And Marie said that she felt quite nurtured by that poem. But that is not a poem that Marie Henein could read in a nurturing way. Everybody has different skill sets. And that's why I say it's only going to work if you're yourself. I want to say to Saran and Jolanta as well that I'm a big proponent of community, and you've heard about the organizations I've started in Wicked, and I believe in community. I also think that a community of two is also a community. So having a really good friend like JP and his friend doing the paralegal town hall, two is a community of two. We know this because the Communist Party of Canada got parties standing for tax purposes with a minimum of two people. That was a Peter Rosenthal special, one of my colleagues we heard a lot about. So it's great to have, you don't necessarily have to want to be surrounded by 800 people. If you have one really good friend who's a colleague who's going through the type of work you're doing, that's your community. It is just hard to be isolated. To be totally isolated could become problematic. So I think we're all saying surround yourself with some number of your people, whether it's one other or 800. Make sure that you have supports, because this is not a profession where you can go it alone. There's going to be days and times when you just need to get input, get support, um, because it's difficult. And I think we have to recognize that. It's difficult but rewarding.
Yeah, speaking of childcare, my wonderful wife who's in that field that just came home, I got to make sure she's Eastern European. They love International Women's Day, so got to make sure she's then find her present before Sunday there. So I'll segue into our final words of wisdom. We'll start with you, Anita. I
Oh
know
no,
you
I'm done.
recorded.
I've overstayed my welcome here. I've had first words, last words, the middle words. I've interrupted. I'm not even going to pull seniority. I just onward.
Thank
I'm
you so
Eastern.
much,
I'm
Anita.
Eastern European, and I'm afraid of your Eastern European wife. So
Charlene, anything you want to add? Any advice for anybody that is listening in the community?
I would just say, we can be part of the solution, just by standing up, standing beside one another. We don't have to kind of do it alone, as Anita said. And the more, whenever we see someone around, we just give them the hi, reach out, touch in, invite them into community, and just move that forward. That we are the change. So I think everything that we do every day can have an impact moving forward.
Jolanta?
My advice would be good to each other. That's what I think. It's what comes to my mind when I think about collaboration and especially women. Not only we should trust our voice, our knowledge, our expertise, be confident, but also good to each other. Not take advantage of one another, jealousy put aside, or whatever it is. I would agree with Anita with regards to empathy. I think I have more than enough for many. But then I would go to Mariana. Yes, we do not. Men are different than us, and we are different than men. However, sometimes I find that the way they approach the law and this career and this profession is it's it's something that I wish to do. It's such a great example. Sometimes I think I let myself go to places, or I guess the empathy of me or part of me takes charge, where I become very vulnerable, and then I guess my clients also see me that way, and sometimes I feel also not only by my female colleagues, but sometimes by my female clients taken advantage of, or told some things that, I don't know, we are weaker or we are more emotional and whatnot. So I would say if we take it all, we just should learn from one another, no matter whether we are men or women.
Thank you, Jolanta. Mariana?
Yes, I would say I agree with Jolanta. There's no room for jealousy. I feel like there's no room for competition either. It's better to collaborate. I've said this at my speech in the gala. collaboration is key, and I truly believe that. I'm actually going to another International Women's event this weekend for Latina entrepreneurs. And it's a bunch of Latinas who are paralegals with their own law firms. So instead of just competing with each other, we're all going to be celebrating each other and lifting each other up and just collaborate.
Thank you, Mariana. Saran?
Yeah, I agree with everybody else. We should be nice to each other and respect each other. But for the people watching, I guess, if you're young and you just successfully passed your exam, reach out to other women if you want to. And I think anyone will be welcome to take you in, or like Anita was saying, TOO is a community. I do have other younger paralegals who does call me on a regular basis as well, and we just sit down and chat, and it feels better. Even though we're in a solo practice, most of us are, not to say most, but whoever is in a solo practice, it does get lonely, and you don't want to go through this hard experience by yourself. You need to reach out to another person, voice whatever you feel, and you'll see that it's a great outreach with other women.
And finally, Stephanie?
I guess my advice would be just be unapologetically you, and that you know more than you think. So just trust your gut, and definitely collaboration is definitely key. So it's nice to see, like, even Mariana and Mai's relationship. It started with her reaching out to me, looking to just volunteer with me, and then we ended up still really supporting each other. And it was very emotional to even for her to nominate me for Rising Star. And even today, you guys mentioned that Wicked has just had its 800 member. That member actually reached out to me recently. I gave her the link, but I don't think she was able to make it. But it's just nice to see that it's just we're finding each other and already working together. I already gave her a client, so I look forward to working with her in the future too. And this is just from
member 800. That's great. So she'll always be known as member 800. To be fair, I had her permission to put her name out there and celebrate her, and she did get a book. It's so cute. You have no idea how long I waited for her, because every time I got to $7.99, someone would unsubscribe, probably by mistake, or fall off. And 800 became like absolutely impossible. So the minute she signed on, I was like watching the logon or whatever. So she was like, she became a member, and then 2 seconds later, I was like, all right, what book do you want? Can I use your name?
Oh, I love that. See, I love to hear it.
Very excited about her. Okay, sorry, JP.
No worries. Well, thank you very much for all of you for taking the time and joining me here today. And to echo that, right? I mean, whatever the hashtags there that Justin came up with, the Paralegal Town Hall is stronger together, and we truly believe that. That's why we try to collaborate with everybody and put on events, for all different groups there. And we're happy that all of you took the time to join us and share about International Women's Day. We have a nice video that will likely be released before this video is out, so hopefully you'll take a look at that. I know a number of you are featured in it, a number of people who aren't here. And throughout the month of March, again, my focus here is to highlight in individual interviews women who are thriving like yourselves. Maybe not today for Anita, but she's been thriving for 34 plus years. So, you can have a day off there, but, and again, show that support, and hopefully people can watch and connect with those women and others in the legal community, and build something, over and over and over again of success, and find your one, or find your 799 others to support you. And I wish you all the best, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. And we're kicking off, our 7th season of me doing this. I don't even know how many numbers of episodes there are, but wish you all the best. And thank you, Anita, for the...
Is that the right thing? The ice cream cone? I'm trying to say congratulations. I'm not good with this. What does the ice cream cone do? Oh, there.
There you go. I don't know if anyone's seeing this, but we're all entertained here. So all the best, and look forward to chatting with more people in 2026. Bye for now.
Happy International Women's Day, everyone.
Bye for now.
Happy
Bye-bye.
International Day.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, so we're all